What if I told you Kansas City already has a blueprint for the next 20 years, official, adopted, and in motion? It's called the KC Spirit Playbook, and while most people have never heard of it, this isn't just another city report collecting dust. It's the framework that will guide every major decision about how Kansas City grows, where the housing goes, how our streets connect, and how neighborhoods across the city are invested in. Think about projects like South Loop Park, Berkeley Riverfront, the streetcar expansion, or the transformation of Prospect Avenue. They're not random. They're connected to this playbook, a vision that says every neighborhood from the east side to the Northland deserves the same chance to thrive. So in this video, I'm breaking it all down. What's actually inside the playbook, the projects you'll see because of it, and what Kansas City could look like in 2045. And if you're thinking about making a move, or you're already here and want to know what's next for your neighborhood, head over to movingtokc.net/info. We're a team of local realtors and would love to help you find your place in Kansas City's future. The KC Spirit Playbook was adopted by City Council in April of 2023, and here's why that matters. This isn't just another city document. It's the comprehensive plan for Kansas City, Missouri, the roadmap that will guide zoning, infrastructure, housing, and transportation decisions for the next 20 years. It's also the first major update since the 1997 Focus Plan. That earlier plan shaped much of the Kansas City we know today, from downtown revitalization to mixed-use development and even the first streetcar projects. But while Focus was about pulling KC back from the decline, the Spirit Playbook is about managing growth and making sure it's equitable. And here's the part most people don't realize. This wasn't written behind closed doors. Thousands of Kansas Cityans weighed in from Midtown to the east side, from the Northland to Waldo. The city heard what people valued, what wasn't working, and what needed to change. The result is a plan that puts people first. So when you see headlines about South Loop Park, Berkeley Riverfront, or Prospect Avenue, these aren't random projects. They're connected to a larger vision, a playbook that says Kansas City can grow, but it has to grow in a way that's fair, sustainable, and designed for everyone. At the core of the playbook is one simple idea. People come first. The city's vision statement puts it this way. We envision Kansas City as a vibrant, equitable, inclusive, and thriving community where residents are empowered to shape their environment. That language isn't just filler, it acknowledges a hard truth. For decades, growth in Kansas City wasn't shared equally. Some neighborhoods boomed while others were left behind. The playbook is meant to correct that, to direct investment into areas that need it, while still supporting the neighborhoods that are already strong. So what does that look like? It means affordable housing options across the city, parks, cultural amenities, and public spaces that aren't just downtown, but spread citywide. Mobility options so you don't need a car for every trip, and a commitment to protect the things that make Kansas City unique, that balance of small town feel and big city energy. The playbook's vision is ultimately about balance, growth and preservation, equity and opportunity, neighborhood pride, and regional connection. It's the city saying, this is the Kansas City we want to build together. And one of the biggest themes of this playbook is mobility. How do we get around? How do we connect neighborhoods? And how do we make sure people without a car aren't left stranded? The playbook is clear. Kansas City's future has to be more connected and less car dependent. On paper, that means expanding the streetcar, improving bus rapid transit, building out bike and trail systems, and making neighborhoods more walkable. But in reality, it's not that simple. Just this summer, KCATA nearly had to cut service after months of stalled negotiations. A last-minute deal kept buses running with $78 million in city funding, plus a plan to add fares back in for most riders. It bought us time, but it also showed how fragile our system really is. That's the tension. The playbook sets a vision for a robust, multimodal city, but day to day, we're still fighting to keep the basics afloat. Still, the framework matters. When you see the streetcar pushing south to UMKC or plans for Prospect Avenue tied to $500 million of investment, those aren't random. They're pieces of a strategy that says mobility is equity. And if Kansas City is going to thrive, people need real options. But mobility is just one part of the playbook. Another is housing, what it calls neighborhoods for all. That means a wider range of housing types and prices so people can find a place to live at any stage of life. It's about building complete communities, not just rows of single-family homes or luxury towers. There's also an emphasis on physical beauty, the idea that design matters. From our parks and boulevards to private development, the playbook is saying Kansas City should look and feel like a place people are proud of. And then there's sustainability. For decades, Kansas City expanded outward without much thought for how it strained resources. The playbook calls for infill first, protecting natural land, and making growth more resilient to climate challenges. Finally, it talks about future-proofing, building a city that can adapt to new technology and new realities. That could mean smart city infrastructure, better stormwater systems, or innovations we haven't even thought of yet. Together, these big ideas are the backbone of the playbook. They don't solve every problem on their own, but they set the standard Kansas City will use to measure whether new projects are helping us grow into the kind of city we want to be. The playbook doesn't just stop at vision statements and big ideas. It lays out 10 citywide goals, and these are the benchmarks every project will be measured against. Now, you don't have to memorize all 10, but you should know how they show up in the city you live in. The first is building a connected city. That's why the streetcar expansion matters. Not just a shiny new project downtown, but as a way to link neighborhoods. The Main Street extension to UMKC is a huge step, and studies are already looking at taking the line across the river into North Kansas City. Pair that with bus rapid transit like Prospect Max and new trail connections, and you can see the playbook's push for a city where more people have options to get around. Another goal is diversity and opportunity. That shows up in redevelopment efforts like Prospect Us, which is bringing housing and jobs back to one of the city's historic corridors. Or at Parade Park, where an aging housing cooperative is being reimagined into a mixed income community with more than 1,000 new homes. These aren't just construction projects, they're about creating access and opportunity to places where it's been missing for decades. There's also a focus on healthy environments and public spaces. That's where projects like Barney Alice Plaza and South Loop Park comes in, literally capping I-670 to reconnect downtown with the crossroads while adding new green space. At the riverfront, the KC Current Stadium is anchoring an entire mixed-use district with parks, housing, and retail. All of these projects are tied to the playbook's idea that Kansas City should grow in a way that makes us healthier, more sustainable, and more connected to the outdoors. And then there's design. The playbook sets a high bar for how Kansas City should look and feel, from new apartment buildings in Midtown to basic infrastructure upgrades. The idea is that if we're going to spend money, whether public or private, it should result in a city that looks intentional, not accidental. Together, these goals turn the playbook from words on paper into a filter for how Kansas City grows. Whether it's a streetcar line, a park, or a housing development, the question is always the same. Does it make us more connected, more equitable, and more resilient? If the answer is no, then it doesn't fit the framework. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great on paper, but how do we know it'll actually happen? That's where the playbook is different from past plans. It comes with built-in accountability. Every goal has measurable outcomes tied to it. Things like housing production, transit ridership, park access, or environmental benchmarks. The city has committed to track those numbers on a public dashboard so residents can see whether progress is real or just talk. There are also new design guidelines and review tools that developers and city staff will use to evaluate every single project. Whether it's a new apartment building downtown or a road project in South KC, the question will be, does this align with the playbook's goals? If not, it doesn't move forward. The plan even spells out responsibilities for city departments and puts timelines and costs in an implementation matrix. It's not just saying we should do this someday, it's saying here's who's responsible, here's when, and here's how we'll measure it. In short, the playbook isn't just aspirational, it's designed to be a living document, one that people can hold the city accountable to over the next 20 years. If you want to see how the playbook moves from vision to reality, you don't have to wait 20 years though. The impact is already visible in projects happening across the city. Barney Alice Plaza is the perfect example. For years, the old plaza and underground garage downtown were deteriorating. Now it's being rebuilt as a modern civic space with a new park, plenty of parking spaces, amenities, and better connections to the surrounding convention district and theater district. It's not just a facelift, it's a chance to reimagine a central gathering space in line with the playbook's push for public beauty, accessibility, and stronger connections between key parts of downtown. Head to the riverfront and you'll see the same pattern. The KC Current Stadium was just the beginning. What's rising around it is a $1 billion mixed-use district with housing, retail, a riverfront promenade, and at least 10% of units set aside as affordable. Again, it checks the playbook's boxes: better mobility connections, new housing, public amenities, and cultural energy that benefits the entire city. On the east side, Prospect Avenue is becoming a test case for equitable development. The city recently committed $500 million to the corridor, building the Prospect Us plan. That means new housing, new jobs, and a stronger link between investment and transit. It's one of the clearest examples of the playbook's equity lens in action, deliberately channeling resources to a community that has endured decades of disinvestment. And then there's Parade Park. For years, this Black-owned housing cooperative struggled with aging infrastructure. Now it's being reimagined into a community with more than 1,000 new homes, green space, and commercial development. The project is ambitious, but it aligns perfectly with the playbook's call for strong neighborhoods and diverse housing. And none of these projects are one-offs. They're proof that the city is already making decisions with the playbook in mind. And if that continues, the changes you'll see in the next 5, 10, or 20 years won't feel random. They'll feel connected to a bigger vision for Kansas City's future. So what does this all mean for Kansas City's future? If the playbook is followed through, daily life here could look very different 2 decades from now. Imagine neighborhoods where you don't have to leave your area for every basic need, where grocery stores, parks, and schools are woven into the community. Imagine a bus or streetcar system that doesn't just survive contract battles, but actually connects the Northland to downtown, the east side to the plaza, and makes it realistic to live in Kansas City without being tied to a car. Picture a riverfront as a destination for more than just game day, with housing, jobs, and public spaces that pull people to the water again. Think about Prospect Avenue as a thriving corridor, not just a through street. Or Parade Park transformed into a model of mixed-income housing that blends history with a new sense of opportunity. The playbook isn't promising perfection, and the challenges are real, from funding to accountability to making sure affordability and equity don't slip through the cracks. But for the first time in decades, Kansas City has a clear citywide plan to measure growth against. And if it works, it won't just be about taller buildings or new stadiums. It'll be about living in a city where more people feel connected, supported, and proud to call Kansas City home. So yeah, KC is changing. Most cities are. And it's not just with flashy projects or renderings, but with a real plan that's shaping how the city grows for the next 20 years. I'd love to hear what you think. Which part of the playbook matters most to you? Is it housing, parks, mobility, or something else? Drop a comment below, because these conversations are how we keep the city moving in the right direction. And if you're thinking about making Kansas City home, or you already live here and want to make sure you're in the right spot for the city that's coming, head to movingtokc.net/info and we'll help you find your place in Kansas City's future. Oh, and check out this next video here if you want to see how one of these major developments is already starting to take shape. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.